3,420. In the last 6 months, that's how many people Rockford police interviewed who witnessed a crime. The hope is those witnesses will help lead police to a suspect and an arrest. But if you were an eyewitness to a crime, would your testimony catch the right person? You're about to find out. 13 News set up a mock crime in front of a group of college students to find out if any of them would make reliable eyewitnesses. And you can take the test right along with them in this story you'll only see on 13 News. It's the first day of class for a group of psychology students at Rockford University. But this day is not what they're expecting.
Everybody has a syllabus, correct?
13 News has set up several cameras in the room. The class thinks they're recording video for a commercial for Rockford University. They're actually here to record this.
In one of these personality types. Are you in here?
Hi guys. My name is Kristen from 13 News. Your professor was kind enough to make you part of an experiment. I explained to the students what they just witnessed was not an actual crime. The man who took their professor's laptop was a Rockford police officer. What we need now is to know what you as eyewitnesses saw. What did the suspect look like? What was he wearing? What did he say? While you try to answer these questions at home, here's some of what the students told a training investigator with the Rockford Police Department who questioned them about our suspect just a few minutes after the crime.
Can you describe the clothing that he was wearing?
He was wearing like the jacket that was light brown.
Okay.
Like one of those like that you go hunting with.
He was wearing a black jacket.
I believe he had a colored shirt with a sweater vest. It looked like a wool sweater vest.
A collared shirt?
A collared shirt. Yeah.
Do you remember what our suspect was wearing? He was, in fact, wearing a solid black jacket with a gray hooded sweatshirt. But why did some students think he was wearing a sweater vest? Well, someone in the classroom was wearing clothing like that, but it wasn't our suspect. It's their professor, John Skalski.
There's a phenomenon called unconscious transference, and eyewitnesses are more likely to identify bystanders as the suspect because of prior experience and familiarity with the individuals.
It's very interesting. The crime itself took a total of no more than 5 seconds, and the variations in witness accounts between what happened and the suspect description, it varied greatly.
Our training investigator says it's not uncommon for several witnesses to have different descriptions. So why do police find eyewitness testimony so important?
Because we can compile the information that we do have that's consistent and narrow down who we might be looking for.
The students were consistent on a few things.
Do you know about how tall this person was?
Like 5'7", 5'8", maybe?
Maybe 5'7".
5'7", maybe 6 foot tall, around that range.
Nearly all said he was white with blonde brown hair, somewhere in his late teens and early 20s. After a few minutes of questioning,
All right, well, thank you for your time, Michelle.
we send the students back to class. And now comes the second part of our eyewitness test. The students all described our suspect. Now the question is, would they recognize him if they saw him again? We're about to test their memory with this photo lineup. It's a few days after the students first saw our suspect. We show each of them this photo lineup and ask them to point out our suspect if they recognize him.
I feel like it's more like this one or this one. I think this one. Maybe this guy or that one, I don't know.
I think that would be who did it.
This one. And the second in the middle.
Torn between this two. I want to say it's this guy.
How sure are you that it's that guy?
I want to say 60%.
How about you at home? Can you find our suspect in this lineup? If you picked this man, you're wrong. Actually, if you picked any man in this lineup, you're wrong. Our suspect's picture isn't here. This is what our suspect looks like. He's 24 years old, 6'1", 210 pounds. Only one student who looked at the lineup didn't point to someone as our suspect.
I don't know as though any of these fit quite right.
But their professor says he's not surprised a majority would pick someone.
Police have started to make the disclaimer that this person may not be in this lineup because they're aware with a simultaneous lineup it's problematic. And they're not there, they're likely to sort of pick someone.
State's Attorney Joe Briscato says examples like these explain why eyewitnesses to crimes are often picked apart and why he can't rely solely on them to put a potential criminal behind bars.
I think most people think you've got an eyewitness, you've got a conviction. Many of the cases that we build, we have to build in another manner, build them circumstantially, using circumstantial evidence.
Sometimes witnesses do get the details wrong. Briscato says it's up to police and prosecutors to figure out if an eyewitness is reliable or not. But police say the more eyewitnesses there are, the better chances they have of finding those key pieces of information that can lead to a suspect's arrest.
Our main goal is we can gather generalized information, but we like to have specifics, such as the suspect had a black jacket on, but it had this writing on it, and now we can follow up on things like that.
The hope is in cases like our experiment, there are enough eyewitnesses to distinguish the information that isn't consistent from the information that can lead to an arrest. All right, Sean, you took the test.
I guess the guy in the top left. He almost looked like a skinnier version of that other guy.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because I think people believe a police officer is going to give them a lineup, and it's like, oh, well, someone's got to be in here.
You assume that it's going to be on there.
And that's the trick now, is to make sure. If you're not sure, don't do it. So if you failed our eyewitness test, you're not alone. Clearly, a lot of people did. But there are things you can do to make sure if you ever see someone commit a crime that your memory doesn't deceive you. Use your cell phone to record a message to yourself as soon as you see a crime, noting what they're wearing, what he or she looks like. And if you're ever not sure about something, don't guess. Just tell police you don't know.
Because you know what's interesting? You're so caught up in the emotion of what had happened. I saw him run out of it, and I was just like, oh, that happened. You're remembering what happened, but not exactly what he looked at.
Right.
Like looking at coat tabs and any other identifiable markers.
Yeah, a lot of kids didn't know he was wearing a backpack. It wasn't that important, but just another thing.
I know. Very good story. Thank you, Kristen.